It's all about Friday feeling. We're going to talk about dating, love, and relationships. We're going to talk about how to become uncheatable uponable. We're also going to talk with one man about how to rev up your relationship with some massage. Another man how he's empowered men right here in Hollywood.
Full show. Can't wait.
I've got the hashtag Friday Feels. I'm so excited to introduce two very special guests and leading men in their respective industries. Seth Fury, Hands of Fury, and Coach Carl. He's really created a framework that gives men purpose, passion, power, right? It's incredible to see you guys here with us today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show. I'm wondering, how do you start your day? You both rocked in here with some pretty cool people.
A lot, actually. I think we have some similarities. Yeah. For me, it's about activation. So I like to hydrate and then jump right into the shower, and I'll go right into a meditation, or sometimes I need to get into my beast mode early in the morning, you know, depending on what I'm up to during the day.
Your beast mode? Yeah. What is that?
And for me, it's activating that masculinity, that power that's required for me to be able to create what I want for my family or for my clients, or to achieve my goals. So sometimes I need to get back into the feminine and get really connected to my heart center. Sometimes I just need to go to the gym and toss some weight around.
Oh, I like that. Wes Gear called that the vortex of radness.
It is the vortex of radness.
AKA beast mode. And then take it easy with the Hands of Fury. Hey Seth, how do you start your morning?
I start my morning, well, first I got to get on social media and respond to all the things that pretty much came through over the night, because that's the premise of most of my business. At that point, I get my body right. That's when I jump up, go to the gym, get that completely done with by 9 o'clock. Then I just start my day and just keep on giving, since, you know, I'm giving out all the time, so I got to give in, take in a little bit at the gym, kind of just, you know, keep the body balanced out. So that's it.
Love it. Yeah. I have to say, you didn't have to tell me you guys went to the gym. I just kind of noticed. I wonder why. Yeah. Such great shape.
Thank you.
Right?
Yeah.
Such great shape.
Well, thank you both so much for being here today. We're excited to talk to you more later in the show.
So, I want to know your guys' input on Tony Robbins. You guys hear like the kind of drama?
Yeah, so what happened there exactly?
I don't know exactly. I did watch a clip, and as you guys know, Tony Robbins, you know, everyone knows who Tony Robbins is, and he has these huge events, and I guess there was a woman that, you know, stood up and began to get into the conversation of Me Too, Time's Up, and all that. And he said a few things that were offensive for some people. Number one, I think he talked about how, you know, in an empowerment place, we never want anyone to be a victim. And I think that he began to go on that kind of tangent, which was kind of maybe rubbed some people the wrong way, because this isn't about being a victim, it's about, you know, the pink elephant in the room in Hollywood and the rest of the world. And then I think he also got into the conversation that a lot of potential CEO men are afraid now to hire the good-looking woman. And so I don't know, I don't necessarily have a viewpoint on what Tony Robbins was thinking. He's done some apologies, but I do think it's an interesting conversation.
Yeah, it definitely sparks debate, and it keeps the conversation moving, so I do love that. And it draws attention to the conversation, which is so incredibly important, so I do love that. You know, I read a little article in Forbes about sort of his response to this apology, and people were very sort of appreciative about that, because he didn't try to explain himself away. He just simply said, I'm sorry, you know, I sort of made a mistake there, and I deeply and truly support the movement, and I want to make sure that that's clear. So, you know, I do love that, but it's tricky, you know, it requires a very skillful use of language sometimes. I do feel that just based on reading him and watching him for so long, that his heart is very pure. That being said, you know, who knows what he really believes in this. Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's kind of a no-win situation. I'll be really interested to get Carl's take on this. For the men who are trying to be a part of this conversation, who actively support the women in their lives, and who aren't able maybe necessarily to articulate it in a way that is the most appropriate, and then they're getting attacked for it. So I do feel bad for him, because I think he is a supporter of women, but it's just really difficult time for him right now.
Well, it's a generational thing as well. So a dear friend of mine who's very up on the feminist movement, and she said Tony Robbins made himself irrelevant. He made himself, he dated himself as far as his mindset. And I don't really know exactly what that means, but I do think that there is a different mindset for younger generation of men versus older, and I'm not sure, because I'm not a man, so I don't know that perspective of it. But what I do know is from a woman's perspective that I never want to have a victim mentality, and yet at the same time, I don't want to be delusional that we don't have some issues going on, so we need to deal with what's going on.
It's such a good point, and one of the other things that he said, I know, and I'm not going to even try to rephrase it perfectly, but he basically said something to the extent of like, when you're in a situation like this, you want to turn the other cheek, so to speak. You don't want to infuse the whole thing with a whole lot of negativity, like it's negative energy, because that's sort of what you resist tends to persist. And that I get, right, on some level. That being said, when you feel like you're in like the throes of a battle or a fight, sometimes the most, the best, most positive thing you can do in that situation is throw a punch back if you're getting knocked down, right? So it's a little bit challenging, and I feel him because I've seen him evolve from being so like, overly sort of all about like ambition and achievement and success, and he's taking this sort of different sort of term, and he's talking more sort of timeless spiritual wisdom. And so you kind of see him evolve, and you can kind of see him trying to work that into the conversation, but it's a tough thing to do.
And it doesn't make him irrelevant at all, because there's so many men out there and women who he's truly connecting to on a deep level, and those are the conversations that they're feeling, or maybe the viewpoint that they're actually having. And it's important for him to connect with that audience so they can be a part of that evolution.
Absolutely.
That conversation.
He is a bridge in that way.
Right, but so fascinating, Tony Robbins of all people, you know what I mean? Like,
Well,
caught up in it.
He's a man. We're all just people at the end of the day. And I think it's unfair for us to have these certain expectations of perfection from him, especially from a leader in the industry.
Yeah, it's so true, and I think too, there's so much that goes on behind the scene. There's so much complexity here, not only in the conversation, but in the ways that we're using the conversation in order to create the kind of momentum we want. And so you can't take any of that for granted. There are some very smart people in some very powerful positions that are moving things forward, and I love that. So I'm careful that I want to set my intention to simply just love and support the Me Too movement, women, and I also want to support Tony Robbins. I mean, all I know, I'm really not that smart. All I know is to love people and see how things turn out.
Right, but I do think that we need to have more conversation, and we've talked about it. We'd love to have more of a, a conscious conversation and bringing in some top CEOs, women and men, and having this conversation. How do we do this? Because we're all learning as we're going along with this, right?
Absolutely, and I think it's important to disagree, but not be disagreeable. That's like the most important thing. You want to have a conversation where you can share different viewpoints and have it fully and unconditionally embraced, and let that be an opportunity to move forward.
Even when Mercury isn't.
Even then, Jazz.
Even then. I feel like it's a double whammy across the board today for everybody. It's like, just stay inside. There was like these crazy winds last night. There was like hurricane power was out. Trees were down.
Coachella's going on. Everyone we know is leaving the city,
It's a
party's
storm. It is. The party is on. We're going to Fred Siegel tonight to celebrate the CFDA's support of sustainability. So that's going to be a pretty cool thing. I'm excited that they're making sustainability so sexy now. Right?
It's true, yeah. Look at this whole double bottom line thing. Do good, make money. You can do both, and in fact, the more money you make, the more you can share it. So I absolutely love that. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely, and a huge shout out to Kirsten Collins. She's headlining at the Whiskey A Go Go this Sunday night. I'm so excited. She's going to make Roland cry. That's for sure. I'll be there doing the same thing.
I'll probably cry.
So let's take a little break. When we come back, we're actually going to talk about how to become uncheatable uponable. Sounds a little weird, but how do you become somebody who is okay whether you're cheated on or not, or what does that look like? Let's discuss that when we come back. We'll be back. Right back.
Hello, Los Angeles. I am your host and producer, Alex Worley, filming inside Focus TV's West Hollywood studio. Welcome to Empowerista, a show dedicated to highlighting female trailblazers and empowering you to turn your barriers into breakthroughs.
Hey guys, I'm Amy Paffrath.
And I'm Justin Walter.
And this is What's Good, the show that's dedicated to positive, uplifting stories from all over the globe.
Welcome to Good Morning La La Land. I'm Dr. Erin.
I'm Rob Mack.
And I'm Jessa Moye.
And we're making history as the first live streaming daily talk show.
This is where all kinds of shit happens.
Monday through Friday, we are going to be streaming to you live, Los Angeles, at 9 a.m. Pacific time on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Lisa Goodman Show. So Kelly, well.
Friday Feels today, we have two very special guests in the house. Hands of Fury himself, Seth Fury, and Coach Carl. Good morning, gentlemen. It's so
here today. I'm wondering today, in honor of this dating, love, and relationships conversation we're about to have, what is one very special thing you do for the special person in your life, right? Like, what's your go-to secret move?
So,
put him on the spot.
I'm counting the list right now. My go-to is always a question, and it's, honey, how do you want to feel today? Because whatever she wants to feel, I guide the dates or the experiences we have that day around that, so we're both fulfilled.
Love that.
You're
Smart
good,
man.
Coach.
Smart man.
Seth, what about you?
This is for a date.
Yeah.
I usually like to, I'm more of an active kind of person, so I usually like to base whatever we do around some kind of activity. So not usually the typical just dinners, not my personal taste. So I'm more of a athletic guy. So it'll be something fun, whether it be a workout or it be, you know, an adventure on a motorcycle, something just different from what they're normally gonna experience. But I try to keep it true to them and what their interests are, and just do something fun, yeah, so they can remember.
We have the conversation quite often about the languages of love, right? And there's 5 love languages. Are you guys familiar with those at all?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so what is your love language, Carl?
So I like to hear it, but I also like to be touched. So I've got both going on at the same time, but words of affirmation or acknowledgement are incredibly important for me because it tells me that I'm being seen, that I'm really showing up as who I am as a man. So the acknowledgement, but also, you know, the closeness, the affection of being physically touched really speaks to me.
As a massage therapist, Seth, do you think that physical touch is your love language?
Touch is everything, yeah. I mean, that's like the biggest connection you could possibly make with somebody. And as a Cancer, being my sign, it's like we're very nurturing, intuitive, so those types of moments are pretty much everything. And so a touch will tell you a lot about a person, whether it's affection from a love or whether it's just you and your craft doing what you do. So touch is key.
I feel like as a celebrity massage therapist, I would be so intimidated to like touch you, to have to be the one to give you the massage. You're setting the bar up so high, right?
A lot to live up to.
It's a lot to live up to. Well, thank you both so much for being here. We're excited to talk to you more later in the show.
Yeah.
Got to point out there, Jez.
You are a closet expert on everything.
Because I'm
Notice that?
learning from you guys.
Just dropping those dimes.
Learning from you guys. So, what is uncheatable, undoable?
Uncheatable, upon-able. So, you know, on Friday we talked about dating, love, and relationships. It's all about #FridayFeels. And, you know, there's a very famous YouTube video called Uncheatable, Upon-able. It's by Abraham Hicks, and it's actually on one of her cruises. So she does these great cruises, which I've never been on one, but people come up to the microphone and they ask questions. And so one day this woman comes up and she says, you know, I'm so upset because I just found out that my fiance has been cheating on me for quite some time, and blah, blah, blah. And Abraham Hicks goes into a talk about being uncheatable, upon-able. And she says this, and I think it's very important for all of us, because we come from kind of a codependent culture. I know I have been codependent. It was one of my biggest things I've dealt with in my life, is putting my higher power, my relationship, whatever relationship I was in, as my higher power. So here comes this woman, she comes up to the microphone, she says that she's been cheated on sometime by her fiance. And Abraham Hicks goes into kind of a great talk, and she says, look, you realize, she says we, because she's channeling Abraham, and she speaks in the we, she always says we.
Suspend judgment.
Right, yeah. So she says, you know, we hope that what you guys are doing here on Earth, as she says, is that, you know, everybody's going to basically, at some point in time, go against their agreement. Whether it be cheating, whether it be that they're putting you as the center of their world, whether it be, you know, whatever it is, that at some point in time in all relationships, the person's going to do something that you don't like, basically. And so she goes into the fact that if we really had our higher self as our primary relationship, that no matter what happened in our relationships, whether someone cheats, whether they don't, and obviously it may be a deal breaker or not that someone cheats, but the point is can you be somebody that's unshakable, that's uncheatable, upon-able, meaning that your happiness, your joy, your knowing of who you are is not contingent upon
What's happening in that relationship?
That's powerful.
100%. So I wrote a book on that.
Personal plug. it's such a great point though, and it's interesting because when I was young, I felt like I was always being, someone was always lying, cheating, or stealing from me, you know? And as I've gotten older, I can't say that that's not been the case, but I just simply
don't care. It's like, because it's not about me. It doesn't, you know, but I do absolutely, first of all, I love Abraham Hicks.
Right.
And I love the message they have there, which is just not making your love or your happiness or your peace dependent on anybody or anything else but you.
Yeah, it's really interesting to think though too about the
different agreements that you make in a relationship, whether it is in the cheating dynamic or the codependency dynamic. At some point, you are going to falter and you are going to fail, and it's just so important to remain true to your higher self. That's been really difficult for me, especially in reflecting on my past relationships. So moving forward, I think it's really important to make sure that I'm most focused on my higher self.
I will say that I love this, Jess, love this. And I will say this, so I've had the opposite experience as well, right? When you're in a relationship or maybe it's a friendship, and the things that the other person is doing don't bother you. And then that becomes a problem in itself. They're like, you don't care, you don't care. I met this guy, he's so good looking, and I was flirting with him, you don't care. I'm like, you had fun? Good, you had fun. How does that in any way take away from who I am? It doesn't. But that's becoming its own problem. Like, I don't think it's going to work out. You know?
Well, you are a rare exception because you are so just focused on everyone's love and happiness to the point where people then think that you don't care.
They do think
like,
I don't care.
Oh, but you should care because I want you to be the only one to love me. And you're like, I just want the world to love you, baby.
I know. Absolutely. Why would I be that selfish that I have to be the only one that can love this person? No, if I love that person that much, I want the whole world to love them.
Yeah.
You know?
And that doesn't mean, like, to be uncheatable upon doesn't mean you have to have an open relationship or or any of that. The point of all of it is that can you be somebody that is, you know, unshakable in the world of, you know, things happen, people, you know, against their integrity, whatever that is, and so it's really finding that peace within.
Yeah, it's loving in a way that you allow the other
person and yourself to feel free.
For sure. Yeah. Absolutely. And by the way, just got a comment on the outfits.
We did do all white, huh?
We did not email. Yesterday we were all in black. Yesterday today we're all. You guys look like you guys should be walking down the aisle or something. I have no idea. But you guys are looking good. No, but I don't know. You know,
Oh my God, Erin, we just set ourselves up. His mom's gonna call him. My mom's
yeah, it's gonna be a whole thing now. Thanks, Erin.
What's going on here? What Erin said you were walking down the aisle. I didn't even memo.
Exactly.
I guarantee this will be the conversation.
Are you marrying each other? Are you marrying other people?
Yeah. You don't tell me anything anymore.
Their moms, just so you know, big shout out about their moms.
Oh my gosh.
Their moms are like, they are so maternal. They watch every single day. And Mom, I love you. My mom's not exactly the most maternal person, but she has given me some real loving comments around this show.
I have to say, yeah, my mom she never missed a single game or play in her life. You know how crazy that is? Like, I forget my own stuff. Like, I would make my own game.
And she'll remind you.
And she will remind me that, hey, you're a game today, honey. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
I love that. So speaking of, let's take a little break. When we come back, we're going to go to the back studio and talk with two gentlemen about dating, love, relationship, how they are empowering themselves through massage, through the men in Hollywood, and all the above. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Moye, co-host of Good Morning La La Land, America's first live streaming daily talk show with my girl, Victoria Simone. What? This was This Week in La La Land. On Monday, we had Society Gal creator Jennifer Jaden. We also featured the Manifestation Babe, Catherine Zenkina, Tracy Tudor Maltas of the $1 Million Listing, and Ali Landry with Reshape, and of course, Mr. Mark Teschner, casting director of General Hospital, making our dreams a reality. Thanks for tuning in to This Week in La La Land. I'm Victoria Simone. Jez. It's going to be a good morning. Bye-bye. Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in to This Week in Focus. My name is Victoria Simone, associate producer here at Focus TV Network, America's first live streaming daily talk show network, with my girl, Jez Moye of Good Morning La La Land. Tell me, what was This Week in Focus? So last week on the Focus TV Network, we had the Rosé Girls with special guest Dana Ward. We had Live It with Tanya Memory, Robert Ferguson, and on that show was Jeannie Buss, owner of the Lakers here in West Hollywood at the Focus TV studios. Ali Landry came in and showed us some special hot, sexy red lips. Aside from our normal lineup, we had Good Morning La La Land, Jez, who was on that show. Jennifer Jane, creator of the Society Gal, the Manifestation Babe herself, Tracy Tudor Maltas of $1 Million Listing, and Mr. Mark Teschner making dreams a reality on General Hospital. Thanks for tuning in to This Week in Focus. Jez, thanks for helping me out. I feel like we need our moment.
Oh yeah, we didn't even get to do it.
How did you? I had a moment where I said "Good Morning America" in my head.
Oh, I really didn't know we were gonna film it today. I feel like you could see my nipple.
Russian cabbage soup.
No, just nipples.
Any excuse for me to invite those boys. For a short price of $7,995, you two can sit and chat with us.
I guessed. That was a really close guess. This is magic.
Wardrobe change.
Wait, was it the wrong one?
You know who has an extra bed for me? ABC!
Andy, do we have a microphone?
There she is, get it! Ricky Rattle style.
Touch my hair.
Welcome back to Good Morning La La Land. We have Seth Fury in the house, which has the celebrity mobile massage. I need some hands of fury in my life. How's it going?
Thanks for coming on the show.
Pleasure.
So nice to meet
Happy to be
you.
here. Thank you.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about what Hands of Fury is all about.
Hands of Fury is my way of just introducing massage therapy in a different light. So much focus is on fitness nowadays, which is a great thing, but very few people actually put attention onto the recovery aspect of it. So I wanted to come in, kind of bring more of a youthful, more engaging way that can get the whole world involved. So opposed to just being massages in a dark room, I'm like, let's make this fun. Let's do events. Let's, make videos. Let's go, just kind of make people who even aren't into massage therapy still enjoy the content, what we do, and then just kind of make more attention brought to it.
What was your introduction to massage therapy?
My introduction was just simply loving them. I mean, I got them all the time. I just love the whole connection that you can give and you can receive. So I just felt like it was something that I could definitely find a big passion in, and I'd be good at it.
Mm-hmm. It's a real luxury. I remember thinking, when I have money when I grow up, I want two things. I want to have someone that will clean my house, and I want to get massages. Massages are a very luxurious thing, especially in relationship. Yeah. So you're doing couples massages, right?
Yes, this is something new that I just thought of. I mean, I've never seen it done before, but I felt like there was a need for it. I love the idea that I'm able to get couples involved with each other. So yes, I could just simply teach massage, and that's cool, but they have schools for that. But then there's the aspect of actually creating a space for couples to bond and have fun with each other. So that's when I said, okay, we can do massage therapy, which is something I love, and then we can bring people together, which I also love. So it's a win-win. Everybody has fun. The guys enjoy it because I get to make them look like Superman, basically, because they go home, their girlfriends or wives are super happy about the gesture that they're doing with it. And all in all, it's just a great experience, and people are just catching on. They love the vibe, and even if they're not there, they can just still feel the love. So it was important for you to put out content that gave people something to be excited about, because it's not really around anymore nowadays. So yeah.
So what happens when a couple comes in? Can you explain this to us?
Yeah, so the whole concept is I would be in the front of the class with my assistant. The whole idea is that it's all about them touching each other. I'm just there to simply help out and do my little pieces verbally, but I work on my assistant, they work on their wives. I go around kind of give them some tips on, you know, what they're doing, and they learn what they can within that time frame and then take it home and hopefully continue it. You know, they don't just give up after the class. So so that's it.
Is it like difficult though to actually get the men to the class? Because I feel like it'd be the women dragging the guys, saying, "Listen, I want you to learn how to rub me."
Well, you know, yeah, I know. But you know, it's actually good because the first guy that I put up, everybody just kept commenting in the sections like, "This is the sweetest thing I've ever seen. There are no guys out there that are like that." And I'm like, "Well, I'm like that." And there's a lot of friends that I have that are also like that. I just don't think we've ever been given the light to actually showcase that. So I'm like, if I can give guys an opportunity to look the way that they want to be looked at, you know what I mean? Then I feel like a lot of them have been reaching out to me like, "Hey man, my girl would love this. Can I come take part in it?" So I think it's a great thing. It's not really that hard to get guys in actually. Some couples aren't as big on the PDA, so that's something that you definitely have to, you know, find couples that are actually okay with the idea of being in a room with other people. Or if not, then you just do a simple private session with the two of them. But either way, they'll, you know, take something from it. It's fun.
So beyond this, you know, it shows a lot about inspirational stories and hearing people have to overcome things and stuff. Tell us a little bit about your story and journey to coming to this love of what you do.
Well, I came from Boston 10 years ago, and initially it was for music, so that's how I ended up in LA. And then life takes course, and then you just kind of gravitate and go with the flow. And it wasn't easy. I mean, I obviously went through my fair share of LA struggles, the staying in the cars and staying on couches and everything that you can, you know, possibly imagine I went through. But I also am very headstrong, and when I have a vision of where I see myself, I try not to focus too much on the actual moment, and I just say, okay, at some point, whenever this passes over, I'm gonna be here. And that was the strength that kept me in LA. And then after a few years, finally I started to get on my own 2 feet. And somehow this just kind of fell into my lap, you know, I was always doing it before, but it wasn't full time. And then once I got to a point where I was like, you know what? I want something that I can control. Music is it takes so many moving pieces to create one thing. I mean, you have to coordinate with producers and, you know, songwriters. And so everybody has to come together for one common cause, or else nothing ever happens. With this, I get to control it, I get to be creative, I get to do the visions that I see for it, and you know, I love every aspect of it. I mean, I just love to help people out and, you know, make people feel better, and it's a powerful position to have. So to know that you can literally walk into someone's house, they're feeling either in pain or just down, and then you leave and they're feeling great doing backflips. So it's like, to know that you have that power, it's like a superpower, you know? So, and then, you know, LA is just magic, you know? There's no other place like it, so.
Well, good for you.
Thank
you. Good for creating what you love and bringing love into people's lives. And massage is very important. So
it is, yeah.
Where can people find you?
So social media is the biggest thing. So Hands of Fury everywhere. Facebook,
hot name, by the way.
Thank you so much.
Hands of Fury.
It's my real name too, by the way. A lot of people get confused by that. They're like, "Oh, Fury's your real last name?" I'm like, "Yes."
You see your birth certificate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So. Hands of Fury, the website, obviously, and then Instagram, Facebook. So we're everywhere. YouTube.
Right.
You know.
And you go to them. That's what's so great about your service, right?
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of times people can't always take the time off work, or when they get off work, everywhere else is closed. So we work until midnight. So it allows you a little bit more time to get it in right before you go to sleep, and then just go to bed and we're gone. So it's a lot more luxurious and, you know, easier. You know, no parking, traffic. You know, LA is crazy with that. So we make it all easy, no stress.
Love that. That's one of the biggest impediments to doing anything in LA. It's
exactly.
Traffic. I'm like, it's 3 miles, but like 3 hours away. I never sit here.
Exactly, yeah. And sometimes that'll be the reason you don't get a session. You know, you just don't feel like going through the headache.
Okay, so I'm wondering, as a woman, if I wanted to give my guy a massage in honor of Friday Feels, right? What is like the one tip or trick you would tell me to do?
Is to feel loving, if that makes any sense. The whole idea of massage is you have to feel nurturing. There are some people that can naturally just gravitate into massage therapy. Some people you can take them to school for 10 years and they will still suck. There's nothing they can do. It's just they don't have the touch, you know.
There is a touch, right?
Usually, because people will call and they'll, show interest in wanting to work with us, and the first thing I do before taking anybody on is I have to see if they're good or not. And I can tell in the first 5 seconds. I'll be like, your touch is just it's unsure, it's not loving, and my biggest tip to people is like, just treat them as if you love them. It doesn't have to be in a sensual way, but just be nurturing and be intuitive, and if you're able to do that, the moves and the techniques and the anatomy will follow behind it. So that's like the biggest tip, touch them, like
at least pretend.
Yeah, exactly. Some people just can't do it. Yeah, exactly, yeah. So if you can touch them like you love them, then they'll feel it. And then at that point, that's when the techniques and the actual moves come into play.
So I have a more personal question. So I know that, when we think of massage therapy, a lot of times people think, there's a lot of things that happen behind closed doors. How do you overcome, this is really just a professional service, this is not a prostitution, this is not whatever. How do you deal with that in your business?
The biggest thing for me has always been reputation and consistency. If everybody is all saying the exact same thing about you, then for one, it gives those, that may have had an idea to try something, maybe they shouldn't. And it keeps people feeling confident that, okay, if 100 people all said this is what it is, then I'm pretty sure it's going to be fine. So it really just comes down to consistency and reputation. I can't control what people think.
Right.
I can only control what I do and what we do as a team. And it's very important for us to stay straight. We want a long-lasting career. We don't want anybody looking at us as creeps. And it's tough because we are a younger company, and a lot of our workers consist of, the actors and the models, and they're very great. They're all licensed in what they do, but traditionally we're a little different, in that sense. So we have to pay extra attention to make sure that we, make that clear. So we do a lot of parties, actually. We stay in groups sometimes just to kind of keep everyone together and seeing us all in an open space, so that way there's less talk to go on. And so yeah, that's basically all you can do.
All right.
You can't stop the rumors of what people think, but you can just do what you do and hope that everybody shares that part of the story.
Yeah. It's a great party idea. You have food, wine, whatever. And I've been to parties where they have, masseuse and people kind of take turns and they go and it's in the same room or in the other section or whatever, and it's a very luxurious, beautiful experience for everyone.
And I think too, the other reason it's such a fantastic idea is because I think people have so much anxiety around social situations, right? And so the opportunity to do something self-loving like that, or loving for someone else, is just, it helps people to relax and to be more social. So fantastic.
Very few, people aren't really touched that often. You can go, just think about when somebody actually touches you for an hour straight.
You can touch me right now.
We need some hands of fury in our lives.
Yeah, because it's a very selfless act. You're literally for a full hour, however long you get your session, you are devoting your full energy onto one person. They're completely on the receiving end, and that's not something that you can just have going throughout the day. Some people just need to be touched. If you think the average person doesn't always, you might get a pat on the shoulder, but to actually have that type of attention on you is very loving, and it's needed,
So incredibly important. You're right, I have a clinician, she always says, we underestimate the importance of touch. And if you have a baby and you provide the baby everything necessary to live a life, but don't touch them at all, they will die. They will literally die. So it's an important point to make, and I really appreciate you sharing all that with us.
Definitely,
yeah. For sure. Really beautiful work. Thank you so much
for
everything that you do and honoring that. And I think it's cool to know that sometimes you come to LA and dreams shift, but sometimes they're even better than we ever expected them, right?
Exactly. And that's what I always tell people, just as long as you're living in your dream and you feel like you're waking up with a purpose and you're happy about what you're doing, then life's going to be great. So
and then you'll have hands of fury.
It's not so great.
Exactly.
And that will make it really great. I promise you that.
Right?
I want to stick in LA just for that.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. So stay tuned, you guys. We're going to be right back with another inspirational story. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Focus TV studios in West Hollywood. I'm Jessamine Moyer, host of the Focus TV network show, LA Unscripted, and co-host of America's first live streaming talk show, Good Morning La La Land. This is the Focus Magazine preview show in an exclusive sneak peek. Today, I have the privilege to announce the March 2018 issue of Focus Magazine, and we're calling it the Influence issue, featuring amazing personalities making a difference in our local communities. On the cover, we have singer-songwriter and host of Chasing Glory podcast, Lillian Garcia. I had the extreme honor of both interviewing her and writing a feature for the magazine on Lillian. She's truly an influencer on so many levels. Joining her on the cover is my spiritual influencer and co-host of Good Morning La La Land, Dr. Erin Haskell. And with her is a true professor of influence, Amanda Russell. Also featured in this issue, we have the constructional chef, Scott Harris, executive chef from the Four Seasons Hotel right here in Beverly Hills. Byron Thomas and two members of the Focus TV family and dynamic duo of lifestyle influence, Janet Gunn and Melissa Myers. Also in this issue, we feature Lauren Everts, the founder of the Skinny Confidential, hello gorgeous, and the candle makers Elise Fratto and Maylene Weber of Leone Candeli, which is of course right over there. And Cynthia Abbey Naked, who I interviewed for my show LA Unscripted, and she is the founder of a great piece of functional jewelry from the Coley Collective. We also have a celebrity chef, Serena Poon, and her new product, Just Add Water, in a series of 4 mom influencers from our millennial mom herself, host Jenna Barnett. It's all influence, influence, influence in this issue of Focus Magazine. Get your copy today on newsstands or online, and be sure to watch our companion video features as well, because we are the only magazine in the country providing a robust video complement to our print features. I'm Jessamine Moyer, coming to you from the Focus TV studios in West Hollywood. Thanks for watching. Yeah. Welcome back live from Los Angeles. We are honoring #FridayFeels, and I'm so incredibly honored to be sitting next to Carl. You've written countless books, given amazing talks, and you are really truly embracing what it means to be masculine in today's world, right?
It's exciting.
It's very exciting. How would you define that?
Gosh, for me, as I mentioned earlier, the beast, but men are also gentle and the beast, I think. And as we were just talking, most men only see themselves as one dimension, one part of themselves, one aspect of masculinity. But we also have the feminine side. And that doesn't necessarily make us a woman, it's a part of who we are, just as you have a masculine side and a feminine side. And to have it all, which is what men are really after, to have it all, to keep it all together, they've got to own both sides of who they are until it's just one solid unit.
But when you say the feminine side to most men, how do they embrace that?
They don't.
I would imagine that's very difficult.
There's 2 types of guys that I see out there. One is the alpha guy who's very headstrong. And I call him, he's stuck in his head or living from that place, lots of willpower. But he's leaving his heart and soul and his purpose out of the equation in what he does. And then you have the other guy who's so in his heart, he never gets off the couch and does anything because he's just so happy being joyful. And so we want both guys in one body. And I see that as the new masculine breaking away from the old masculine.
I love that. They say that the greatest challenge men face today is having it all figured out and holding it all together. And I agree. I think it's intense for men in today's modern world.
We subscribe to this model of men are just here to protect and provide. And that model is very exhausting and burdensome. You know, a lot of men feel alone even in their marriage because everything is their responsibility, and if they fail, our fear is we'll lose everything, including our wife and our kids. And so I'm trying to get men to break out of that model and into a more collaborative, co-creative model.
And so how can women help in that?
Oh, that's a great question. I think they are, because women are becoming more independent and successful in their own way and less dependent on men. And that actually relieves a lot of the pressure from men. I talk to men all the time who, just last night a client called and said, I was on a first date and this woman paid for me. I'm really uncomfortable with that. That's not the way that it's supposed to be. And I said, you should feel relieved that she's independent and successful. That's an opportunity for gratitude because you can be a better team. So I think that women can support it the most by helping draw out his purpose, and she can align with that to support him the most. Because the masculine has to be on purpose in order for him to really protect and provide his goddess.
Right. I just love that. It's such an important point. And so what I hear you saying essentially is that when men embrace both sides, all sides, really, that they're in a better position not only for themselves, but the families, and for women in general.
He's going to feel so much more freedom. He's not going to be proving himself. He's not going to have to strategize or manipulate his way to achieve his goals. He will be trusting himself and knowing that he's just here to manifest his purpose. Right. Just like you are, just like I am. And that's what really matters.
So we know that in self-development, majority of women consume self-development. It's like 70+%. How are you getting men to go, oh, this is not, I shouldn't be ashamed in going to a conference or having a coach? How do you get them over that hurdle to say this is powerful?
Sure, there's two ways. One is focus on results with them, because that always attracts the masculine as results. The other piece is I market to their wife, because she'll make the decision for them.
Man.
So much smarter than me. I just threatened him. I'm like, bro, I'm good, dude. We're gonna have to go to blows over this. We're gonna get some love from this conference, dang it. Yeah. That's so awesome. Wow. And I know that with the books and everything like that, your sort of impact is just continuing to grow and grow and grow. But it wasn't always that way. So can you talk to us a little bit about how you got to this place now, where you're just this well-integrated man, and you're teaching and modeling for other men how to be that too? Get there.
At a very young age, I saw men in the way they interacted with women, how they worked 40, 50 hours a week and really weren't present with their kids. And I'm subscribed from that. I didn't want to go that route, but I also didn't find a man who I was inspired like. So like Seth, I started out as a massage therapist, headed to medical school. And a woman gave me a free ticket to a Tony Robbins seminar.
Wow.
And I said, I'd rather not write prescriptions, I'd rather be coaching people. And that's how it all started. That was back in 1999.
Wow.
And I've been doing coaching and consulting ever since.
Incredible. What's been the most difficult part of the journey for you?
Oh, wow. Probably trusting the process, because as men, we like to be in control and make things happen. And a lot of life happens just naturally and easily. And it makes no sense to men. Women get it, but it makes no sense to men. So I think I've always been courageous in facing the fears and willing to embrace it. It's trusting the process that it's all going to work out.
Everything.
Right?
Everything.
Yeah.
So what, did you hear controversy with Tony Robbins this week?
I did.
What do you think? Tell us, we want to know.
So I did something really unique. Rather than listen to the words, I hit the mute button and I watched the interaction. And what I got out of that is the woman did not feel safe. It was not a safe conversation to have. That was the first thing. And as a leader and as a man, it's our job to create that safety for women. The Me Too movement is a cry for women don't feel safe, and men aren't creating that. But the challenge with it is that men also don't feel safe in their masculine. So we're manifesting that, and now we're getting called out on it.
Wow, that's very profound what you said.
Isn't it?
Yeah, really well said.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's just, it's, and part of the reason that it's profound for so many reasons. What resonates with me so deeply is that in my experience, I've noticed that I've probably been less, I'm least loving when I'm most in fear, right? Or I'm most insecure. And so I've tried to remember that when somebody's that way with me, and like this person feels fear, insecurity. And so my job essentially is to try and create a safe space for them.
Right.
Right? But it's got to be really tough, I think, particularly, and that's why it's so important that men like yourself, hopefully like me, obviously like Seth, are supporting the sort of creation and holding a space, a safe space, so that men and women can thrive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well said. Well said. Yeah. It's, I bring that safety. It's constantly remembering that it's okay to have shame. It's okay that you have insecurities. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no blame, shame, or fault in this. But you just get to feel that and get to be with it. And it will discharge itself. You will move past that. But it's so hard for men to feel vulnerable and stay loving at the same time, which is also why we have challenges being present when a woman is in her emotions and what to do with it, because we're not doing a good enough job relating to our own.
So what tools would you recommend for men and or women that want to sort of stay in that place of being both vulnerable but also showing up in a way that's supportive? They want to be both self-loving but also share love with others. What do you recommend? What tools do you recommend?
A lot. I think the easiest, most applicable one is I have them write out their shame, their judgments, and their internal dialogue that's going on that they probably haven't shared with anyone else. Once they're able to do that, they start to get a little bit more clear, and on top of it, rather than having those emotions own them, they can start to engage with them and realize this isn't that big of a deal. Like, men will come back to me and say, I thought it was going to be really difficult. Like, I was resisting it, I was crying about it, I didn't want to do it. And now it's like, wow, I feel free, the load is off. That's the first step. And then I start having them go into doing kindness and love exercises with their body, with certain words of affirmation, so that they're turning inwards. And you know, we've been so externally driven of chasing the white rabbit, and that's our relationship to pretty much everything. And now you get to know this amazing person who's just screaming on the inside to know you. I mean, men are really screaming and longing for something bigger than what they've been living. You mentioned earlier today your higher self or your higher purpose.
So I want to know, what advice would you give to somebody out there, a man that's in a power position like a CEO or something, and he is maybe afraid of hiring that good-looking woman because he's afraid of what that relationship? What would you say to somebody out there?
He's got to be very clear in who he is, and his intentions need to be very transparent. And if he is in that place of authenticity, he's going to make the right decisions.
But so if his intention is, wow, I'm attracted to this woman, how do I work with this woman, and I have feelings, whatever level, with this person, how would he deal with that?
Well, if he hires her, he probably won't. I mean, that really is a tough situation. And so I would take him to a place of what's really missing in you that you think you want to be with her, especially if he's married.
Oh.
Boom.
Boom.
Right?
Mic drop.
You've really created a very integrative framework and broke it down into very approachable things for men. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is, with the access, the embody, the owning it? Tell us a little about that.
Yeah. One of the first places I start with men is looking at a few things. One is I look at how they're really showing up in their body, because that reveals a lot. Our purpose manifests through our body, and whatever we're holding on to, not paying attention to, it's not getting through. And that's really frustrating for men, not to be able to generate what they want. And so whatever's in there, and a lot of it is shame, blame, and fault with men, and a lot of them don't even know it. So I start with their body and clearing that out, so they have much more freedom, and they start to feel sexy and alive again, and that's important.
Mojo is very important for all of us, for sure.
On both sides.
And that's followed up with, you know, purpose. Why am I really here? What turns me on and makes me feel alive the most? So much that if I get rid of everything else, this is the thing I can do most of the time and feel fulfilled.
Love that. So do you work in groups and one-on-one? Is that how it works?
Yeah, one-on-one groups and weekend retreats.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
So what do you do on a weekend retreat?
Everything. The biggest one's purpose. And for men to be able to get away from all the external stimulation and the drive and really turn to silence, to listen to right here. And this is a different conversation that most men have never had, is listening to their heart for it to reveal why they're really here. And half the time they know, they just don't want to say it.
So how do you get men to get over their ego or their insecurities with that, so they can embrace that purpose?
I think it's an ongoing process. I don't think it's one thing. I think it's an ongoing process of just speaking the truth regardless of how it sounds. And a lot of men will hold back. You know, a lot of people think women experience emotions faster than men, but the male brain experiences emotions faster than the female brain. But the female brain will express it faster. We'll wait 3 to 6 seconds to 50 years before we tell people how we feel. And it's part of that is shame. When a 2-year-old boy cries, we're told to suck it up. A 2-year-old girl falls down and everyone rushes to her. So we learned that at a very young age. So it's that revealing, that level of ownership, that he starts to have more breakthroughs, and his purpose just starts to manifest just beautifully.
Wow, it's so powerful. You know, with articles I was reading recently was just about how men manifest their discomfort differently than women. They tend to be more heavily drinkers, they often do more drugs, you know, they use distraction a lot more, whereas women are much more intentional about sharing it and sort of dealing with it more in a sort of head-on way. And is there anything that you recommend for men that tend to distract themselves or numb themselves instead of facing, you know, the discomfort they feel?
Yeah, they've got to have the support of another man who they trust, who's already done the work. Because we will delay taking care of things, we delay going to the doctor, and we don't want to confront things. If you look at the Me Too movement, a lot of that is men not confronting their stuff over 10, 20, 30 years. And they get confronted once, and their whole life starts to break down because of it. Wow. And I always tell myself, look, whatever you don't want to confront, the univerce will confront it for you.
For sure.
Oh.
And you won't like it then. And you won't want to deal with it then either, but you'll have to. And so that's the big thing. It's them feeling safe enough to confront it and being here just like me and you right now, and just speaking to it and going right at it.
So profound,
Yes,
so
it is,
important.
yeah.
Very, very good. You're very confident and you seem very clear. I remember reading a book, The Way of the Superior Man,
Yes.
you know, years
Great
back.
book.
And I think that as, you know, we all, and I don't think it just applies to men at all, like when people are purpose driven, when they have that, just like their higher power and their main purpose in life, there's nothing that's more attractive. Because you realize that this person has something that is guiding them that's important, and you can't help but respect that. You can't help but be turned on by that, right? And so to find someone's purpose is so important. So thank you so much for being a leader, both you guys, in that. And I think that men, I think this movement is just beginning for men. And you know, women, we've been kind of on this bandwagon for some time, but men are just beginning to really do their inner work. So thank you so much for everything that you're up to.
Great to meet you.
Yeah. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more on Good Morning La La Land.
Welcome back to Good Morning La La Land. We're having a very conscious conversation with two incredible men, Carl and Seth. I so appreciate you guys coming on. It's a really important conversation to have. And I think, you know, the challenge for a lot of men is, I think a lot of men want to have the conversation, but I think they're concerned not only about how they'll feel and how they'll make the other person feel, but how to express themselves in ways that can be easily and well received. You guys do that so well.
Thank you.
So any tips for men that, you know, just want to have the conversation and maybe they're a little uncomfortable with their own insecurities about it, whether that's how to speak to it, but also how to work through the feeling and discomfort of it all.
You said something about, you know, it doesn't feel, you know, sometimes it feels awkward or weird, and they have to really let go of, it may not look good or sound good the first few times you're practicing something you haven't done before, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, no one's great until they start practicing it, and it's really that first step, and I think a lot of it helps when you're face to face with a really powerful man who's inviting a part of you out that is uncomfortable and uncertain and awkward and probably doesn't want anything to do with it. Let's just, you know, keep suppressing it, pretend it's not there, but it will come back at some point anyway.
For sure, for sure.
My advice is always to just open your mouth and say something. You know what I mean? A closed mouth doesn't get fed, and it's basically you just have to put yourself out there and just be willing to just be vulnerable and just be a man, you know? So I always just try to be in tune with how I feel and vocalize that, and however it comes back, I mean, you'll never know unless you actually say something. So
right,
that's
so
the biggest
important.
advice, yeah.
So in today's world, we know that relationships are changing dramatically. You know, we have polyamory, we have open relationships, we have all kinds of things, and I think that men in particular, you know, I'm sure have been very suppressed over the time of trying to fit themselves into the mold of what the culture has said. Yeah. What do you guys think about that? Like, if there's a man and he's feeling like, I'm not necessarily a monogamous human being and I need to be truthful about that, but it's a very dangerous place for them to, you know, speak their truth, right? So how do you deal with that with men? How do they deal with that?
More so in the past 2 years than I ever have.
Yeah, for sure, right?
I don't think I'm designed for one woman. Or you don't want to be vulnerable with one woman, and the moment she finds something in you, you're ready to run to another one. I see that a lot. Like, so what men need to understand is they can have it all with one woman. Anything they think they can experience by cheating or having other women, they can actually experience it with the one they're with. If they're living their truth, they get to have it all with her.
What do you mean by that? So if somebody is, say that they don't consider themselves monogamous and they're in a relationship, you're saying that they can have multiple relationships, like as long as they're truthful about it?
Whatever feelings or needs they think they're searching after, you can actually have it in a really powerful
I get what you're
partnership.
saying.
Yeah.
So it's really just
Right.
looking. So you don't believe in, do you not believe in polyamory or open
I
relationships?
don't know if it's a belief, it just doesn't resonate with who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that it is for some people and not for others, or do you feel like it's really just a misconception of that can't have it all with one person?
I've had clients who have gone down the path of polyamory, and they know why, and I know why, but they'll never change. And that's their path of having multiple women, multiple people, and that's their choice.
Yeah.
Well, if you've got hands of fury, all you need is one man. So
we got deep there for a minute, but yeah, I mean, I don't have an opinion on it, quite frankly. I feel like it's for each person their own expression, as long as they're not hurting or lying to anyone.
And I do think that you bring up a really great point, which essentially is like, understand your motivation and understand get at the core and the essence of what you're trying to achieve. A lot of times I thought, well, I really want the $10 million house. It doesn't mean that I don't, but like, what do I really want that house for? Oftentimes it might be just to like entertain people and impress people, but the same thing I think is often true with men in the context of relationships, right?
Yes, absolutely. You hit it right on the button. It's like, well, why do I want this? Is it because I think that's what man's supposed to be, or because I don't want to deal with being with just one person?
It's a
and getting
great,
bored?
deep
A lot of men get bored and they want variety. But that's why I said earlier, you can create that with whoever you're with.
Interesting.
I used to have an uncle that would say, I would always complain, I'm probably even say, Rob, if you're bored, you're boring. And that's up to you, that's up to you, Rob, you're gonna fix it.
that's so true.
Yeah, it's such a good point. Like, you're bored. If you're bored, you're boring.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a very good way to spice it up with some massage, bringing it in. For
Yeah,
sure.
exactly.
I got a feeling Seth is never boring.
Yeah. Bring some oils. You've got oils, right? Relax, revive.
New oil line I'm coming out with.
Oh, nice.
Releases next month, so I'm super excited about that. So yeah, no, I mean, it's never a boring moment. I try to keep it spontaneous and fun. To touch on what you guys were just speaking about, I think a big part of the monogamy comes into how you grew up and what you're exposed to and what your everyday life is about. I feel like nowadays things are very, very different, and people don't have that same type of example to follow by, so they just become a product of their society. So now guys feel as if they can't be with one person because nowadays nobody really is with one person. And that's a big part of why we started to do our couples massage, because I wanted to have people organically fall in love with the idea of being with just one person. Because it doesn't have to be what you see on television all the time, which is guys just being dogs. And it's mainly because those are the expectations that are expected of them. Most people will live up to their expectations. If they assume guys are all gonna cheat, then they're most likely just gonna cheat because they're like, well, nobody's really expecting me not to. That's just what we do. I personally don't believe in that. I think that one woman should be more than enough, but that's just because I come from a background in which I find one person to be fulfilling. Have your fun, be young, but at the end of the day, don't let that be your whole life. I mean, that's just a very shallow, lonely life to have, and eventually they'll be 50 years old in the club, wondering why they didn't, follow that, now.
Interesting.
So,
Yeah, so just don't be a boring person.
Exactly.
That person's going to stay in love with you.
Exactly. Yeah. Keep it fun.
I love
keep it
it. Well, I
refreshing.
love the conscious conversation. So important, you guys, and knowing that each and every one of us has our own truth. May you be true to that. And thank you so much for joining us. We are live every morning from 9 to 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Times. Please like, share, and comment. Love the ones that you support, and then we'll love you back. Have a great day, you guys.
It's going to be a good morning, La La Land.